Good morning, gorgeous. Yes, you. Welcome back to Rosie Rooted and Rising. If episode 6 gave you permission to want more, today we're going to go deeper. Today's episode is titled, Who Are You When Expectations Fall Away? This episode feels different to me because I'm not speaking from theory anymore. I'm speaking from real change, from actual decisions, from growth that asked me to let go of the version of myself that once felt safest to be. And that's not dramatic, it's subtle. It's the kind of growth that doesn't announce itself, but quietly rearranges how you move. So today isn't about rebellion, it's about writing the next chapter of your life instead of reacting to the last one. Who are you when you stop performing who you were expected to be? For 25 years, I worked in state and federal government, structured environments, clear hierarchies, defined roles, and I was good at it. I was dependable, accountable, prepared, the one who handled things. Over time, that stopped being feedback. It became identity. I didn't consciously decide to become the responsible one. I absorbed it because that's what was valued. And when you are rewarded long enough for being strong, steady, and reliable, you start to believe that's where your worth lives. In holding it together, in carrying it, in not needing much. So when I left the career and built Rosie's Real Estate Solutions, I thought I was reinventing myself, but I wasn't. I had simply created the same identity in a different room. Still dependable, still steady, still carrying. Same performance, different stage. Performance doesn't always look fake. Sometimes it looks responsible. Sometimes it looks like leadership. When I stepped into entrepreneurship, when I became BNI president, when I positioned myself as an expert in rooms, I showed up confidently. But internally, I was still calibrating, measuring my tone, anticipating reactions, adjusting my energy to what the room required. And that kind of constant adjustment is exhausting, ladies. Not because you're weak, but because you're always performing alignment instead of living it. And here's something I didn't share loudly at the time. While recording this season, I was preparing for the New Jersey real estate exam. I know, sis. 4 weeks of disciplined focus, 2 weeks in class, followed by 2 weeks of study. On exam day, I showed up. I stayed calm, well, somewhat, and passed one of the most challenging exams I've ever taken. I didn't broadcast it everywhere or anywhere outside of my family. I didn't make it a big announcement. I just knew something inside me had shifted. The next version of me required expansion. And when I passed that exam on February 6, 2026, it wasn't fireworks. It was clarity. Because I realized something important. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I wasn't performing ambition. I was writing the next chapter instead of reacting to the last one. There's a difference. One feels like pressure, the other feels like I'm writing the next chapter of my life, not reacting to the last one. When expectations fall away, it can be disorienting because expectations give you a script. They tell you how to be valued, how to be perceived, and how to be safe. But when you start saying no more intentionally, when you stop volunteering first, when you stop smoothing tension automatically, people notice. And sometimes they're confused. And you have to decide, is their comfort more important than my alignment? Absolutely not. That's where identity becomes real, not in theory, not in decision. And clarity sometimes costs you what you're used to. It asks you to step away from what feels normal. And what feels normal can feel like safety even when it no longer fits. Let me say that again. And what feels normal can feel like safety even when it no longer fits. Outgrowing a version of yourself isn't betrayal, it's evolution. But it comes with grief. There is grief in no longer being the one who always says yes. There is grief in no longer being everyone's steady ground. And there's grief in not being needed in the same way. And I felt that. I felt the quiet loneliness of not over functioning, of not rushing in, of not proving. I had to ask myself, if I'm not the dependable one in every room, then who am I? And here's what I discovered. I was still dependable, because that's just me. But I am not obligated. I am still strong, but I am allowed to rest. I am still capable, but I don't need to carry everything. That's the difference between identity and expectation. When performance softens, something quiet begins to surface. You start noticing what feels natural, not impressive, not strategic, just natural. And for me, it looked like studying because I wanted expansion, not validation. Saying no without over explaining. Leading without overperforming. Building without broadcasting. It felt quieter, but stronger. This isn't reinvention. I am not becoming someone new. I am consciously writing the next chapter instead of repeating the last one. The government professional, the entrepreneur, the leader, the woman over 50 still growing. She doesn't compete with who I was. She includes her. And that inclusion, that's maturity. Questions I'm living with, I haven't mastered them. I'm just living with them. Number one, who am I when no one needs anything from me? Two, what do I choose when applause isn't part of the equation? Three, where am I still adjusting unnecessarily? Four, if I stopped performing competence for reassurance, what would remain? And here's the one that changed me. Number five, what if the next version of me is mine to write, not something I inherit from expectation? Ladies, identity isn't fixed, it evolves, and growth requires edits. It requires revision. It requires the courage to outgrow what once fit. You don't have to announce who you're becoming. You don't have to justify the shift. And you don't have to make sense to everyone. You just have to stop pretending you're still someone you've outgrown. For me, that looked like leaving one career, building another, leading boldly, studying quietly, passing an exam, and choosing to write the next chapter instead of reacting to the last one. Just alignment. Until next time, sis, y hermana, stay rooted, stay blessed, and keep rising. New episodes every Monday morning. Sis, if today's episode resonated with you, follow the show, leave a review, and share it with another woman who's rising or someone in your life who needs it. Follow on Spotify or subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss what's next on Rosie Rooted and Rising.